ברוכים הבאים לעוד פרק של פרשה בג'ינס, הפודקאסט של שבילים. אני צחי לוי, וכרגיל ושלא כרגיל, יש איתי אורחת היום, מאיה ביטון.
שלום.
מה שלומך?
בסדר, מה קורה?
ברוך השם, איזה כיף שאת פה. מאיה היא בעצם אחת מהיוזמות של Young Shvilim, שזה בעצם החבר'ה הצעירים של שבילים, שאנחנו נפגשים אחת לשבועיים פחות או יותר, ווואו, תספרי קצת על מה זה Young Shvilim, מה אנחנו עושים, מה זה עושה לכם.
So Shvilim for me basically is an opportunity to bring together a bunch of people my age. It's marketed to people ages 18 through 21 to educate themselves more about Judaism, the state of Israel, the current state of Israel specifically. Just you give us a lot of life lessons and how to use it and how to correlate and connect it to Judaism and just lessons in life and lessons not only about Judaism but how to direct life and really learn how to be the adults we want to be and overall the people we want to be.
את מרגישה שהדבר הזה חשוב לך.
נכון.
בגלל המצב שאנחנו נמצאים בו כשאנחנו לא בארץ, או למה בדיוק את חושבת שזה חשוב למישהו בגיל שלך, שזה בדרך כלל הגיל של קולג', נכון? פחות או יותר?
Right.
למה דווקא בגיל הזה, בזמן הזה, את מרגישה שאת צריכה את החיבור הזה גם ליהדות, גם לארץ?
So I think that a lot of people my age, with all the stuff on the media going on right now, it's really the time where people either step back and away from their Judaism or embrace and become even closer to Judaism. Personally, for me, it made me want to be more involved in the community, to reach out. I honestly, this sounds a little irrelevant, but I started listening to a lot more music in Hebrew for some reason since the war started. I started going to Shiur Torah. I started trying to connect a lot more and encourage my friends to come to Shiur Torah. Obviously, I started doing Shvilim with you. I talked to my Dada about it. I said, let's do something for people my age. And it was just something that I think is really important to empower people and kind of show people my age. It's such a sensitive age where we kind of don't really know who we are yet or we're figuring it out. To really empower and step into the shoes of like, I want to be a Jewish person. I don't want to hide myself, you know? A lot of people took off a Magen David from their necklace. A lot of people brought their mezuzot inside the house. It's not going to be something that I'm going to participate in. If anything, I'm going to embrace and wear my culture on my back even 10 times harder.
So what you're saying, Maya, is that the more knowledge you have, right? The more background you can get, will give you the opportunity to make your connection to who you are stronger.
Right.
So knowledge obviously is power.
Right.
And when you know who you are, and I think, and I'm going to add it from my side, I think the more you know, the easier it is for you to relate to who you are. And I think also Judaism, it's not just who we are. It's also, like you said, it's an amazing tool for life.
Right.
And I think when we combine these two things together, so we have this amazing thing that's called Torah, that has so many tools and so much wisdom that we can, you know, kind of like weld into our lives and enjoy it. And at the same time, we are also getting to know who we are better. I think it's a win-win situation. So on one hand, you have a stronger identity, and on the other hand, you have a very rich toolbox to become the person you want to become. So I think those two things combined together gives you a huge advantage, especially like you said at your age when you kind of like putting your life together as an adult. And I have to say, and I hope that the more adult audience that I see don't see this podcast, but I'm having the best time with you guys. אני נהנה איתכם מאוד, דווקא מהסיבה הזאת, שבגיל הזה ובשלב הזה בחיים, לא מגיעים עם יותר מדי דעות קדומות. זאת אומרת, אתם מגיעים מאוד pure, מאוד fresh, and it's like a blank page that באמת אפשר לתת ולהעניק במקום הזה הרבה יותר, ו-you guys are open to listen. And sometimes when we grow up, אנחנו מתבגרים טיפה, and we have like kind of our mind established, it's much harder for us to receive new information. So I think you guys are in a perfect position to enjoy both worlds. ולכן I encourage you guys to continue doing this. For me, it's an unbelievable experience as well. I learn a lot from your dedication and commitment. זה לא מובן מאליו. So, אז אני רוצה להגיד גם לך תודה, וגם לכל מי שעוזר לך בדבר הזה. Now, מה שאנחנו עושים פה בדרך כלל בפודקאסט, אנחנו לוקחים נושא מפרשת שבוע, ואנחנו מנסים לראות איך הוא מחובר לחיים שלנו. קצת מה שאנחנו עושים בשבילים. והיום חלק משמעותי מהפרשה שלנו מדבר על זה שעם ישראל נמצא במדבר, בדרך ממצרים לארץ ישראל, which took about 40 years. ואז הם כל פעם מצאו סיבה אחרת להתלונן. This time זה היה שהם רוצים בשר. אין בשר. And Moshe was very upset with them that they keep complaining. But he told God, listen, that's what they want now, and God says, okay, let me get the meat. It's like, it's not going to change anything if you give it to them. They will still find a reason to complain. והקדוש ברוך הוא אומר למשה, אני יודע מה אני עושה. Let me give it to them. וכל הסיפור הזה הוא נשמע קצת מוזר, אבל זה גרם לי לחשוב על כל הנושא הזה של תלונות, complaints, right? בחיים שלנו. ולמה אנשים מתלוננים, what drives you to complain, right? So let's see, you see a situation which you don't like in your life. It could be in your own reality, or it could be in someone else's reality, right? And you complain about it.
Okay.
What does that do to you?
When I personally complain?
When people complain, when you complain, we all complain somehow.
Yeah. So I think when people complain, I see the most people complain when they're in a stage of their life where they don't feel fulfilled. Meaning, if I see someone that, let's say, they don't have the position they want at work. Okay. Or if they're working on themselves physically. During the process, if they don't really think they're reaching their goals, I see a lot of complaints. But I notice, for my friends at least, the people that are in kind of the position that they want to be in, they don't complain as much. And I think a lot of complaints derive from insecurity and jealousy and kind of looking outwards instead of looking inwards.
Explain that to me. Okay, so let me just make sure I understand. So you're saying, let's say if someone is lacking in a certain thing in life, could be like a job position or anything that they want to have but they don't have. So their go-to thing is to complain.
I think
about what?
I think it's a lot of like, what's the word? Hold on.
Blame the world?
It's more of blaming outside factors for factors they can control inward.
So instead of doing what they need to do, they will blame everything around them for this thing that they really want not happening. Right. All right. So what do you think drives people to do it? Eventually, it doesn't get anything fixed. Right? So there's no... אף פעם לא ראיתי שמישהו יתלונן, okay? וזה עשה לו טוב. Usually when you complain, it makes you feel like not only that something is wrong, and it's also out of your hands. Yeah. Because if I'm complaining, בגלל מאיה אני לא מצליח, נכון? So, איך זה עוזר לי? Why do people do it? Like, what are they expecting to get from it?
I think when people complain, obviously it takes energy out of yourself to complain. Right. I think it's all about how you direct your energy and what you put your energy towards. Meaning, if I'm going to sit here for 4 months and complain, I'm unhappy with myself. I'm unhappy with where I am at work. I'm unhappy with where I am physically. I'm unhappy with where I am in school. For 4 months, I can complain. Or for 2 weeks, I can complain. Sit, reflect, realize these are the steps I need to take. And instead of putting my energy in looking outwards and complaining, I can take my energy, work on myself inward. And instead of for 4 months complaining, I'll have 2 weeks complaining and then 3.5 months working on myself towards my goals.
So that's going to be more efficient.
Right.
Right? So obviously complaining is not efficient,
Right.
but it is in some way, because human beings don't do anything that they don't feel like they can gain something out of it.
Right.
Sometimes the gain that they're looking for is not so good. So for example, if I'm looking for like some empathy from people, so I'm gonna say that my life is not good and I suffer a lot. So when I tell you about my problems, I'm trying to get something. I'm trying to gain something
נכון.
out of it. So also complaining, I feel, is the same. אני חושב שכשבן אדם מתלונן, הוא מנסה להגיד משהו.
Right. I
Okay.
agree.
מה הוא מנסה להגיד?
So right now, I am finishing my freshman year in college, and I'm taking a course called interpersonal communication.
Okay.
It's all about one-to-one communication and kind of how to read why a person acts a certain way. And Bonagid, so my last chapter to finish this year, we're just finishing this week, is when to give advice and when to sit and listen. And when whoever you're talking to needs either or,
Right.
you know?
That's
And a
very
lot of the
interesting.
time, people sit and rant to you because they just want someone to listen and validate your feelings. But a lot of the time, if someone comes to you, you can validate their feelings. Even if you don't agree, validate their feelings and then tell them, hey, and insert your advice and say, I wouldn't have done this. I see why you were upset. I would have maybe tried this and this and this instead. And a lot of the times, I think when people complain, they're either looking for validation or they're looking for advice. And it's really hard to read and know when
Which
is
is what?
appropriate.
So,
Right.
so I think this is what you're saying right now. It's kind of takes me to the conversation that Moshe and Hakadosh Baruch Hu had about this complaint that Am Yisrael had about the meat, that they want to have a real food, and Moshe was pointing out that it's not the meat they're complaining about,
Right.
and God tells Moshe, you think I don't know this? But I'm still going to give it to them just so we're not the only ones who know that it's not what they're complaining about, right? So sometimes when someone complains about something, the worst thing that can happen to them is if what they're complaining about actually happens, because it reveals the fact that their complaint was not about a specific thing, but it was something, like you said, something from within that's not working out for them.
Right.
And the only way, so let's say, I'm uncomfortable here because the AC is not on, right? Okay, if we put the AC on, what would happen then? You'll still be uncomfortable because you're not comfortable, period, because something is bothering you.
Right.
But it's easier for you to point it out at other things. But you know what's the worst thing that can happen to you? If those other things would work out, and then it's going to roll back to you.
Yeah, and they don't fulfill you.
Exactly.
Right.
Not only that, then it makes everything very clear why you were originally complaining.
Right.
So sometimes when someone is complaining about something, we have to think, okay, let's assume I fulfill and I make happen what they need to happen. Okay, so like what they're complaining about. So someone that complains, oh, my life is very boring, right? Okay, let's go for 3 days.
Yeah.
Right? That will reveal that it's not helping because the problem is way deeper inside. So when we hear people complain, we need to listen to not what they're complaining about versus what they're complaining for. See the difference? So if I'm focusing on what they're complaining about, then I'm trying to put a Band-Aid on something because, okay, today they're complaining about this.
Right.
Because usually people who complain, they don't complain about one thing.
Yeah, it's about multiple things.
Exactly. Because there was a person who went to the doctor and he told him, listen, everywhere I touch in my body is hurting me, right? It's like, I touch here, it hurts me. I touch here, it hurts me. I think I have pain everywhere. He said, no, your finger is broken. Right? So what you're touching with is what's giving you the pain, not what you're touching.
Right.
And so complaining is the same exact thing. It's not what you complain about, it's what you complain for, what you're hoping to achieve by complaining.
Right.
And that will never be something yet, that you'll never get what you really want to get. Because like you said in the beginning, Maya, and I think was very true, people are lacking internal things and they complain about external things.
Right.
External things can never cure internal things.
Yeah.
The other way around. The only way you can actually fulfill something or make a difference, it's if you work it from inwards outward, and not the other way around. And that's why when we use this technique of complaining, you know what was the worst thing for Am Yisrael once they complained that there was no meat? What the worst thing can happen to them? That they're gonna get meat.
They're gonna get meat, and they're gonna still complain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know how people feel, oh, when I'm gonna be rich, I'm gonna be the happiest person on earth.
Right.
You know what's the biggest punishment for someone like that?
If they get money and then they're still upset.
That's a huge disappointment.
Yeah.
That's a moment where you say to yourself, wow, so for 10 years, I worked so hard thinking, oh, this is what's going to make me happy. And it's not making me happy. It's not only that I lost 10 years of my life trying to get happy, it's that I'm out of ideas how to get happy because I was so focused on this one direction that will get me happy. And it doesn't. Now, what do I do?
Yeah,
it's a huge breakdown.
Yeah.
And the same thing it is for complaining. People who get themselves used to complain a lot, they're in some weird way, they hope for things to not work out for them.
You think so?
Yeah.
And how come?
Because if it works out for me, let's say I complain, oh, the AC is not on, and I'm taking it to something very minor, but people complain about more important things. And then the AC goes on. Now what? Now you're stuck.
Yeah.
And now you have to actually work on that thing that bothers you inside, because that things that was bothering you outside got taken care of.
Yeah.
And now it forces you to deal with the actual problem. So when I complain, I kind of like lay my issues on external things.
You just kind of vent, I feel.
I vent, but I'm not just venting. I'm like laying all my issues on other stuff.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't have to deal with them.
Nachon.
Because I'm kind of saying, this is not my, what can I do? Listen, it's her, it's him, it's reality, it's the winter, it's the summer, it's whatever. You always find something to lay your issues on, and then you don't have to deal with them. But if if those external things get solved, then you're in a big problem, because now you have to deal with the actual
So
thing.
my professor in my interpersonal communications class, she said something that really stuck with me.
Yeah.
Said, always when someone points a finger, you have 3 fingers pointing back at you. So whenever you point at somebody and you say, it's this person's fault and this person's fault, this is why this is why that, you have 3 fingers pointing back at you, reminding you, like, look at yourself inward before you complain outward. So
I guess your professor is very smart, because she learned Torah, because in the Torah it says, Kol haposel bemumo posel. Anything that you see wrong in someone else, it means you are familiar with that, because you have it within you. Right. Your ability to recognize something in someone else, right? It just tells you that you can recognize it because it looks familiar to you from within you. So and she's right, because and it's not just one finger pointed at you. 3 fingers are pointed back at you, right? Because it's when we are able to see good in everyone, it means that we have the ability to see good within ourselves. מישהו שלא יודע לאהוב את עצמו, בחיים לא יוכל לאהוב מישהו אחר. נכון. ומישהו שלא אוהב את עצמו, לא יאהב אף אחד אחר. ככה זה עובד. ולכן מישהו שמתלונן, someone who complains a lot, it's usually someone that is uncomfortable, like you said, with who they are, with their position, with their accomplishments, with their, where they're standing as far as reaching their goal. Exactly. And their way of saying it, listen, I am not the cause for the feeling I have. It's the world. Right. And then eventually they change so many things in their life very frequently, because they feel, okay, אני לא יכולה להיות חברה שלך because you don't make me feel good. אני לא יכול להיות בבית הזה כי הבית הזה לא טוב לי. And they keep chasing that perfect reality that will be okay for them. But at the end of the day, if they don't look inside and ask themselves, maybe if I change my perspective, maybe if I'll change something about the way I do things,
Right.
maybe everything that I see as a problem now will get solved because I'm going to be a different person and I'm going to be a better person. And I feel like every time we see someone that complains, we shouldn't be listening, and we care for them, right? Because we also complain a lot, right? But I'm saying generally, if you feel like you're complaining, or if you see that someone next to you is complaining a lot, if you really want to help them, don't solve what they're complaining about. Try to solve what they're complaining for. Okay, what's the reason that they complain? And maybe there is something about maybe they just need a compliment. Maybe they just need some kind of encouragement. Maybe they need a push. Maybe they need someone to tell them that they're okay, that they're successful. Because once we do that, the need for complaining will go away.
Right.
The worst thing you could do for someone who's complaining about something is fixing that something. Because then they'll have to look for something else.
Yeah.
So I feel like at this point where we deal with complaints or we deal with whinings, people about, complaining about a lot of things, that's all we have to be focused on. Try to understand what's going on inside of them that gets them to complain and not what they're complaining about.
Right. Like a lot of the time, so the past couple years, my mom has gotten a job, and we can all agree that when you come back from work, you're letting off steam. Whatever job you're letting off steam. You have a guard up at work, and you get home, you put your guard down, but it takes a second. Sometimes I even come home sometimes from work, I need 20 minutes to myself.
Right.
A lot of the time also when you work in customer service, you need that. But anyways, a lot of the time my mom will come home and, she'll be not in the best mood. And she'll come home, Maya, can you take out the trash? Of course, take out the trash. Maya, can you do this? I'll do this. And then sometimes she'll be a little snappy. And then after like 3 times where I do what she asks, and then she's still a little snappy, I look at her, I go, Ima, I see you're upset. And we'll bicker back and forth. We're very similar. I'll say, Ima, I see you're upset. I'm going to give you some time to calm down. And then I'll come back to you.
So it's not the trash.
It's not the trash. It's usually, sometimes it's laundry, but usually it's not the laundry, and it's not the food, the plates we left out on the table. It's something a lot inside, a lot more internal. And I think a strength that a lot of people can learn is how to recognize that if people complain, right, and how fast you can pick up on it. If it didn't take me 3 times, then it would have taken me 5 times, and she would have been more upset, and then she would need more time to calm down. And when she complains about this A, B, and C, I know it's really D that's bothering her.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But I think you need to be super emotionally intelligent to know these things, and I think it's a very special thing that you have. But also, you need to understand the concept first in order to recognize it. So what we are talking about right now is learning what's the mechanism is doing, and then you can actually realize it in real time. But most people would just, okay, what do you want me to do? We'll just try to buy quiet, right? Peace and quiet. Just, okay, I'll do those 5 things and leave me alone. I need time for myself. But if you take a second and you stop and you say, wait, something is happening here. If there are so many things that she wants me to do, if there are so many things that they're complaining about, it's not what they're complaining about. There is something else deeper than that. And if you do that, you save time, you save emotions, and you save a lot of headaches because you have the ability to look down to the issue. And I think complaining is one of the most deceiving things, that they can kind of sound like you're complaining about something, but you are complaining about something that's deeper than that. Having the ability to do it will give you a huge advantage in life. And it's very funny because what we are doing right now here, it's kind of what we're doing in every Shvilim class that we do, right? So we take a topic, we break it down into something we can actually benefit from, and it all comes from the Torah. And if we are Jewish, then it's ours, and we can use it, and we can enjoy the Torah in order to promote and enjoy our lives better with better tools and better capabilities. And I'm very happy you came, Maya. I think it's been very nice talking with you. ותודה רבה גם לכם שהייתם בעוד פרק של פרשה בג'ינס. הפודקאסט של שבילים. אנחנו נהיה פה כמובן גם בשבוע הבא. שבת שלום.
שבת שלום.